Okay. Good morning. Welcome to the Crow Wing County Board meeting. Would you join me for the pledge and a moment of silence?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Open forum. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak about something that isn't on the agenda? Okay. Review and approval of the minutes of the August 22nd County Board meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Coring, second by Commissioner Barrows. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approve the agenda. Anything to change?
We have no changes, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Barrows, second by Commissioner Coring. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda.
Madam Chair, just, is Debbie on?
She's,
Is not.
I don't believe she's on.
Okay. I guess I had one question, but it wasn't a big one. So otherwise, I guess if no other questions, I would move approval of the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Coring, second by Commissioner Hoag. Are there any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 9:05, it's not 9:05 yet, we've got one more minute. Are you ready, Therese, for the
public hearing? Mm-hmm. In about 30 seconds.
okay?
Our published hearings were at 9:05, and so we can't start early. And so we are waiting for the seconds to trip over to 9:05. Madam Chair, it is now 9:05.
It's now 9:05.
Madam Chair, I'd make the motion to open a public hearing for the petition to vacate Cataract Street.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Is there someone who'd like to give us some information?
Madam Chair, Cataract Street is a street that is in the Sinasam area, and we have some folks here who have filed a petition to vacate Cataract Street in the unorganized territory. Trace, can you pull up a map of where that is?
Yep.
You know where it is, and I'm looking for it.
I'm still opening mine too, so.
We have, whenever we get a request like this to vacate a road, what we do is circulate. One, we make sure that the petition is up to date. Two, we make sure that the signatures, the registered voters within so much area of the area have been notified. Legal notices are properly published. And then we refer it out to the Highway Department, to the Land Services Department, and to the County Attorney's Department to weigh in on whether or not there are any public considerations regarding the vacation of a particular road. In this case, the staff comments have no issues with the vacation of the road. It is appropriate to take public comment on whether or not that road should be vacated.
Can you pull it out? Mine's frozen.
Sure, where? Right here?
Yep, it'll be in there. The map should be towards the bottom.
Oop, there we go. So here is the original plat to give you an idea of where it is in Sinasam. And then here is a closer look at the request for vacation. The only issue is on the eastern side where that comes out. There is a property owner who lives on that eastern side, and they preferred that we not vacate it all the way out to the edge of the plat. And so what you have in front of you is to vacate almost all of Cataract Street. Madam Chair, it would be appropriate to open the public hearing and take comments.
Is there anyone in the audience that's here to speak to this? If so, would you please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the records?
Charles Vigilante and Jill Vigilante, we were the petitioners for this, and
The part that he's talking about that's not being vacated is from the eastern part of Lot 8, and basically Lot 9 is not being vacated because that kind of touches the driveway for the northern occupant of that land there. So out of courtesy, we left that out of the petition.
we didn't want to do anything that would impact our neighbor, so we decided, it was kind of agreed on that that part of Cataract would basically stay, so he wouldn't have any impact on his easement onto his road.
And the surveyor, Jim Kramer, he was the one who suggested that we do that and leave it, leave number 9 out of the petition.
Okay, so the yellow, it doesn't go all the way to the end of the
It
yellow.
goes
It
all the
only
way to the
goes,
end of 8,
it only goes
where
from
9
1 through
starts,
8.
It stops.
Okay. I wanted to make sure that,
Just to clarify.
do you have anything?
There may be other public comments, I'm
Is
not
there
sure.
anyone else in the public who would like to speak? Do you have anything more before you?
No,
Okay.
thank you for hearing.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else here? Is there anyone else?
Madam Chair, I would move to close the public hearing on the to vacate Cataract Street.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Coring, second by Commissioner Barrows. Are there any questions at all?
Madam Chair, just what's to the north side of that? On the map, it was just blank.
It's woods.
Oh, so there's no development.
There is no development on the north
Right,
side.
not right now.
Not right now.
What if there becomes, I guess they would be able to gain access through the new development if it were to happen?
If you vacate Cataract Street, any development to the north side then would require finding some access. Could come through, I see, it's hard to read these. The street on the left-hand side could be extended to the north. So could the street on the east side could be extended to the north, and then this could become the back side of lots. I think that
Do you want me
extension
to bring
could
it
still
forward?
happen.
We should have it in there.
Can we put that on the screen, maybe? What
Or we can just can we bring it up on the
is that?
GIS?
If they're wondering what's all north of there. So, what she's bringing forward is, this is what we're vacating right here, the street right here. This is what's north of the property.
That's the pointer.
Okay.
Is that good enough? Or do you want it over more? How do you want it?
I don't know what part is he questioning. Here's where 9 starts, right there. So what's north of us, this is the driveway we were talking about to the neighbor here. Back here is all woods. But the driveway we were talking about is right here, this is where the line would, Cataract would end or whatever. And we left that open so he would have his driveway. But otherwise, this is the Cataract Street, this section right here.
The demand for it
Yeah,
has
it does.
not been high. The Sinisam area was platted in the 1930s, and that has not been developed since then. So, could it be? Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I'm good with,
Madam Chair, we didn't vote on closing the public hearing yet.
Okay. All those in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Chair, I would so move the resolution in our packet dated September 12, 2023, ordered by the County Commissioners of Crow Wing County, order to vacate road, unorganized territory, Crow Wing County. That's a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Are you okay, or
yeah.
anybody else have any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, thank you very much. Got 1 minute again for the next public hearing.
Would you like me to take some items
Why
from my
don't you
report?
take something?
Very good. Madam Chair, there was a senior management team meeting yesterday. We continue to talk about training and development for our supervisory group. If you think about it, if you're a great social worker, then sometimes we'll promote you to be a supervisor of social workers. And doing social work is vastly different than doing supervision of social work. And so the training and the development, oftentimes we hire someone into a supervisory role and then kind of like, good luck, well, you'll figure it out. That is not a good way to run a railroad. And so we continue to try to figure out how can we, with the existing resource complement, try to figure out a way to do a better job of training and development for our new supervisory class. We also got a brief update on a website, part of our agreement with our current vendor. We get a refresh of our website every 3 years, and so we are just getting it. I think of it as kind of housekeeping, that we will have a refreshed look and feel. The functionalities will be largely the same. It's just a fresh look. So think of it as housekeeping. And then we put final touches onto the budget recommendation. You have a budget committee meeting this week. And then by the end of September, we need to certify the preliminary levy, which you know, it can go down after that between then and December, but it cannot go up after you have certified it at the end of December. Madam Chair.
September.
At the end of September, correct. Madam Chair, that's what I have for the senior management team report. I believe we are past 9:15 now.
All right. Motion to call, or to close the, open the meeting, sorry.
Madam Chair, motion to, I would so move to open the public hearing on the ordinance regulating the use of cannabis and cannabis-derived products in public places.
Madam Chair, I'll do a bit of an introduction, if I may.
You need
I
a
just made a
second.
motion.
I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Chair, this is a draft ordinance that was, I think, heavily borrowed from Stearns County, and it regulates the use of cannabis and cannabis-derived products in public places. So any place that is in the general public or in any place of public accommodation. The ordinance would not apply within the cities of Brainerd and Baxter. That is intentional. They are cities of the first class, tend to do their own regulations regularly. And I know, I can tell you that both of them are actively working on this same issue. It would also allow any city or township to opt out of our ordinance by regulating in the same space. And so if the city, any city or any township wishes to have a different set of regulations than these, they can pass their own ordinance and those regulations would apply within their jurisdictions. So it is really, I think, trying to establish a floor, sort of, below which we don't wish for people to go. And what I would liken this to is walking down the street with a six-pack of beer is generally not considered to be socially acceptable, and so we're basically saying that walking down the street with a different intoxicating substance is also not socially acceptable. It would not regulate the use of cannabis in anybody's homes. It would not regulate the use of cannabis in anybody's private spaces, just in public. I think the intent of the ordinance is not to have serious restrictions placed on those who wish to imbibe. I think it is to protect those who don't wish to imbibe. And the smell in particular of burnt cannabis is very noticeable and I think objectionable to some folks. So it's really just trying to separate the uses from each other, those who wish to and those who do not wish to. It's trying to keep them apart while folks choose to consume.
All right. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to this? Anyone in the audience? Is there anyone who would like to speak to this? Hearing none, let's
Madam-
close the public hearing.
Madam Chair, I would so move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Right, and do we have a motion?
I just made the motion.
I mean,
second.
I'm already past that.
All right.
But I didn't ask. Oh, sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now is there a motion?
Madam Chair, there is a motion. I would so move the County Board of Commissioners does hereby on September 12, 2023, pass the resolution adopting an ordinance regulating the use of cannabis and cannabis-derived products in public places.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Coring, second by Commissioner Hoag. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Land Services? Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I have 3 items for your consideration this morning. All of them are preliminary plats and final plats. We'll start with the first one is for the plat for Hartley Lake Storage. This is located on the north side of Hartley Lake. It's in Section 14 of the First Assessment District. What the plat request is to permit 73 total lots consisting of 72 individual lots for the plat itself and then 1 outlot, with the conditions of meeting all of the conditions of the approved conditional use permit that was approved at the same night as the preliminary plat was approved. So this is, there we go. Yeah, so here's the plat in question, and these are the lots. Why can't I? There it is. There it is. These are lots in question here that you've got 72. This lot up here is going to be not for storage buildings, but for a building that they're titling as a clubhouse, but it's basically going to have a wash bay and bathrooms for folks to be able to use that are within the plat for that. A couple things I want to point out first before I get into more specifics was that due to the scope of this project, an environmental assessment worksheet was required as part of the project, and it was approved by the county board on July 25th that was substantial and it met the requirements of the AEW process. This has a double-pronged approval, which is because of the fact that it's a common interest community where everybody owns an individual lot, and then they have a common interest in the outlot, which is lot number 73. And so this required a conditional use permit, which was approved by the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment on August 17th. There were 16 conditions as required as part of that CUP, and those conditions are listed in the packet. And so what we have before you today is we will need 2 separate motions. One is to approve the preliminary plat approving this, and then there will be another condition after that to approve the final plat. The one item I want to point out is that, Therese, can you jump to the final plat? There's been a slight modification from the preliminary plat to the final plat, which is on that lot 72, where there you can see it right here. Right here, where this was, when that was, the planning commission approved that with their preliminary plat at a size of 36 by 48, and there's been a slight modification to that to increase that to a 68 by 68, which is an allowable minor modification that does not require it to go back to the planning commission. But so when the planning commission approved the conditional use permit, basically the buildings that he's allowed to build were based on that preliminary plat. And so what you have here is that he is approved to build that structure on 72 here as a 36 by 48, and the request is to just increase that size to 68 by 68. That would require Mr. Anderson to go back to the planning commission and amend the CUP to change the size of that building. And then we've had some conversations about that, and based on some of the feedback we received from the folks in the lake and from Commissioner Franzine, he's agreed to forego ever putting a boat launch on that property and to also forego putting a dock out on that property in lieu of getting this lot increased up to a 68 by 68. It is important to note that the impervious standards are still met, all the ordinance requirements are still met by just increasing lot 72, just this minor increase in size. And so based on the Planning Commission's recommendation approval of the preliminary plat at the October 17th, 2023 meeting, which is based on the finding of fact, which is in your board packet today, it's recommended that from approval from the Planning Commission, and staff have also reviewed the plat and determined it meets ordinance requirements and recommend approval also. So there'll be two motions. One is for the preliminary plat, and I'll have to take a second motion on the final plat.
Okay, now you said they have to go back to the planning and zoning.
Correct.
Planning and zoning can't overrule the fact that he has said that he will not put in a dock or a boat landing. That is final, right?
The Planning Commission would have the final say on any conditions of that conditional use permit. The Planning Commission would have the final say on that, and they would take direction, I think, very clearly from the board, if the board's direction is to approve the plat with this minor modification to allow for a boat landing and to not allow the landing and the dock, of which Mr. Anderson is sitting back here and here, and we chatted before the meeting this morning, and he did agree to those conditions also. So that will be brought up as part of when he comes back to amend the CUP, that will be brought up also.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, just so I can wrap my head around this is the old drive-in property.
Correct.
And so what this in essence would be is somebody would individually buy these, I'd buy Unit 9, I would own it, and then this would be an association where the
Correct.
association would either plow the snow and do
Exactly.
the grass and everything like that.
But it's a homeowners association, but it's not a home, it's a property owners association.
And then the only place that's going to have water and sewer and a bathroom is at 72?
There will be a bathroom and a wash bay in there for vehicles, but the Planning Commission did authorize the buildings to have water in each of the buildings and limited to a toilet and to a sink. So the Planning Commission did allow that as part of those buildings. The buildings are not to be allowed for habitation, for dwelling uses, so they prohibited uses inside the building, like they can't have fireplaces or, those sorts of amenities, not to have any patios outside the building at all, like, fire pits and that sort of a thing. It's just meant for storage, but they felt it reasonable to allow them to have a sink and a toilet in there to use as part of that.
So then once somebody, Madam Chair, once somebody buys one of those, what about the inside? Do they insulate it and do that all themselves?
Yeah, Mike is basically building the shell of the building.
Okay.
As part of that, and then how they choose to finish on the inside is up to them, but it cannot be used for a dwelling. It cannot be used for overnight stays and for, turned into a
What
dwelling.
happens, what do we do as a county board if this does turn into somebody's dwelling and they have a bathroom there and it's insulated and it's kind of like a shoust or a barn dominium or something like that, what do we?
Absolutely. The planning commission had the same concerns, and so they put a condition in the CUP that said that the county has authority within reasonable times and dates to inspect and go inside those buildings and to review and make sure that they are being used as storage and not being used for a residential dwelling use. And if it turns out that they are, they'll be given time to rectify that, to remove that, to make sure it is storage. And if not, thanks to the support of the board, we do have more help in the county attorney's office to take that to court and to prosecute and to get that, to get the relief we would need to make sure there's compliance with that CUP.
Okay. And then one other question, if I'm recalling correctly, I thought we had a conversation, or somewhere I heard a conversation where we were going to try to make sure that the frontage road to the county engineer, this is to the county, or maybe you, Chris, that we would be able to extend the frontage road.
Yep.
Whatever happened with that?
That's Tim, the highway department, and Mr. Annis has worked that all out so that we do have the frontage road area there to be able to connect where the movie theater road is right now.
Right.
That land has been acquired. That's in the process of
All
happening
set.
right now.
I don't know. Tim, do you want to say anything about that, or is it? Or?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioner Coring. We're still in negotiations with Mr. Anderson about it has not been acquired. If you look at the differences between the preliminary plat and the final plat, that he's been very accommodating for our desire to make that connection from the existing north end of Theater Road to eventually maybe to the north. There's a backage road there. We're still in negotiations with him, but this is a very good start to set aside that. He's modified the actual existing footprint. If you look at that road that kind of swings up through in that light gray, that's where it used to be, and he modified his plan and his plat to accommodate our desire to acquire that frontage road property. We're still in negotiations. It is something that we will compensate him for. We're looking for a little bit input from him regarding on what that compensation would be. So.
Well, I'm just hopeful that we can get that accomplished, because I think as this whole area gets, it seems like development is exploding up in that area. I just want to make sure that we've got an extension to this frontage road so that we don't have, a lot of accesses onto 371, which could be problematic. So.
Yeah, we do appreciate Mr. Anderson's willingness to work with on that. He's been very willing from the very beginning to work on that with us, so we appreciate that.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I do have one question for the administrator. If somebody starts to live there and we have to go to court over this, do we go after both the person who's violating, who hasn't complied, and the HOA? So
I don't think so. I think we go after the person, but
Right.
not the HOA.
My understanding, Madam Chair and Commissioner Barrows, is that the homeowner or the property owner association that's putting that in place here is going to have some very strict requirements and regulations that should be able to handle that internally if there are such situations that arise. But if it does rise to that point, it would be, my understanding would be between us and the owner of that building would be the one that would be out of compliance with the ordinance and their CUP that we would then have to proceed with enforcement on.
okay.
Madam Chair, just a question. Normally, we do not enforce covenants, do we, as far as the county?
Nope, no
So
covenants.
this will be a special situation where they've allowed us to reinforce the covenants? Because the covenants of that association are going to say there's no habitation.
Yeah, but that's, Madam Chair, Commissioner Lupke, that's in the conditional use permit that we have, that we can enforce our conditional use permit.
Okay.
They can put items that they choose in their declarations and covenants that could be similar to what we have, the same, and then be more restrictive, which is what they're going to be doing. It will be more restrictive than even what our CUP says. So, but we would not be able to enforce that the property administration would enforce that amongst themselves.
Madam Chair, I got another question for Chris. There is design standards, correct? So all these buildings are going to be built to look the same? Or can anybody build the building any way they want it to look?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Lupke, Mr. Anderson is actually going to be building all the units on the site, and there's no requirement in our ordinance or CUP that they be of similar color, size, shape, but my understanding after working with him as long as we have in this project is that they're all going to look the same.
Okay.
Yep.
I have one more question. If you, in these units, then it's up to the owner who's buying the unit or getting it if he wants to have water or not have water, or have a bathroom and a sink. Because there's so many units out there, how is he going to get the water? Can he put an individual, will he put an individual well? Everybody will put an individual well. If 25 units want it, right in line, they'll all put in individual wells. Is there anything in the covenants or in our ordinance that allows a common well to be able to do more than one unit?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Lubke, wells are regulated by the Minnesota Department of Health, and so they would be the ones that would be determining how wells can be shared and how much, how to share the one well. So there won't be 72 wells on the property. So there will be a sharing of wells. It'll be, using one or more potential wells to share water out there. But we don't have any ordinance regulations on that because that's handled by the Department of Health.
Okay, and then again, with the 70-80 rule, if they have a drain in there, because if anyone has a toilet in there or something like that, they're going to have some type of on-site.
Correct.
And that's not regulated by us either?
It is. Yeah, Madam Chair and Commissioner Lubke, based on if they have water in there where they have a sink and a stool, they would then have to have a septic system, and based on the minimal usage that we anticipate, they would be allowed to have holding tanks out there to be pumped out on a regular basis.
And that would also fall under if they wanted to have floor drains and do washing in their own?
Floor drains and washing of vehicles is not allowed to go into a septic system. That would have to be daylighted out onto the ground. It would not be allowed to be put down into the ground through a drain field or like a French drain. That would have to be daylighted.
And we regulate that?
We do not regulate that. That is, again, that's a state regulation to how that's handled by the MPCA. The Pollution Control Agency, excuse me, I did do some checking into that on their policy on that, and it is that they would be allowed to have a floor drain in there, provided that it daylights out to the side of the building, so it daylights, when the water goes out, it goes on to the top of the soil and not in a floor drain or down into a septic system. So that is allowed by the Pollution Control Agency.
And so these buildings are also abating the stormwater also, correct?
There is a stormwater plan for the entire property to meet our ordinance
And if
requirements.
those drains go to light, that probably is going to be part of that stormwater system, correct?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And the reality is that the soils out there are very sandy, and so any water that does go out is going to infiltrate quickly into the ground anyway.
Okay. That's all I had.
Madam Chair, it just brings up a question for me. Where on the map would the holding tanks be? Because they're not, each one's going to have a holding tank, correct?
They would. Yeah, Madam Chair, Commissioner Barrows, depending on who chooses to have which units have the water, they would have their own individual tank.
They would?
Yep.
And
There's
there's
enough room
adequate-
on each one of those?
There's room for, yeah, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question? Chris, this is probably off the subject, but if you go on Johnson Road and you go around the back to the backside of BIR, I call it a shoust or some barn dominiums there where they're just, I don't know if anybody's ever been in those, but they're like a garage, and there's living quarters, and there's a nice balcony, and so what's the difference between those over there and these?
Absolutely. Madam Chair, Commissioner Corning, we platted that through a process back in, I'd say 2014 maybe, it's platted, if I can remember, the plat's called like the luxury garages of BIR or something along that line. They platted that knowing that they were going to be, they called them a luxury garage, we called it a dwelling. And so basically it's a garage that's got living quarters up top. And so the difference was that they came in saying that this is going to be used as a residential use and then have the garage underneath for storing their cars and stuff that they would use at the racetrack. Whereas this one is saying no residential use, strictly storage. That's the difference between the two.
Madam Chair, so Mr. Anderson could have came forward with the same kind of units as there are by BIR.
Right, but it would have, Madam Chair, Commissioner Corning, that would have had an impact on its density. So
Yeah.
because it's just strictly commercial storage, the density numbers are able to go more than if it was residential, using it as, say, a dwelling.
Right.
So there was more, the density was much higher to go with the commercial storage than it would be through residential.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I do have one more question. So the clubhouse there is substantially higher built taller than the other buildings, correct?
That'll have a limit, that'll have a height limit of it of 35 feet, according to our ordinance. That'll be the height limit.
But aren't the storage ones limited to 16 feet or something? Is that
Right.
what I read?
This one had, because of the location, Madam Chair, Commissioner Barrows, based on the feedback that we had received from, they were more concerned with the height of the building across on the, where the lake was more visible. Back there, it was hid back by 371, so there wasn't the concern about the height of that building.
Is there a reason to have it at that height?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Barrows, I guess I can't put my finger on a reason besides the ordinance. It's just something that's allowed by ordinance.
Perhaps, Mr. Anderson, could you answer that question? Why you want 35 when the others are at 16?
Could you come to the microphone?
No,
Come to the microphone, please. Thank you.
Yeah, it's something that really hasn't been designed yet. My architect that I use in the town I barely got to talk to him, for 2 or 3 months. I'm kind of on a waiting list, so it hasn't really been designed to, I don't know what it'll require. We're not going to use that footprint because being my architect is so busy, it hasn't been designed. We just want a building for the wash bay, for some bathrooms if they choose not to put in their own, and maybe a meeting space so the HOA can have a couple meetings, or if the grandma and the grandkids, while the guys are hooking up the boat, can go in there for a minute. It's really all it's used for. We just haven't designed it yet. Everybody's busy. My plumber, my drywaller, I can't get him. We did one right north of this, worked out well. We did one like this in Detroit Lakes. Not a complaint. 5 years there, 4 years here. Yeah, up here on Moberg. We have neighbors on the west side, north side, south side, right tight against it. We have not had one complaint. In Detroit Lakes, similar by Little Detroit, Moberg, right on the lake. These are highly regulated. They're just used for storage. We just haven't designed it. Everybody, we can't get it done yet. As far as the storage, they're all storage. Some people just want to work on their car, likes to wash his hands, use the bathroom. We got a guy on Moberg, he's got it full of beautiful 57 Chevy. Mike, when are you getting the well? I want to wash my hands and use the restroom. I'm not sure how high it is. On the lake, the neighbors last fall I reached out to them. There was some concerns what I was doing. I said, hey, on the lake, why don't I lower them? So you don't have to, they asked me to, and I said, yeah. Technically, the walls, I think the ordinance is 16 feet, but you still have that peak, and I don't know what that measurement is. So it's 16 feet sidewalls, so the peak, I don't even know what it is, 25, 28 feet to the peak. So I just lowered them. I'm trying to be a good neighbor. What are their concerns? I met with them this spring. What are your concerns? We forgo the landing. We forgo the dock. We don't want to use the lake. Just look at it. It's a nice piece of property. We felt to do this. It's commercial. It's right on 371. And like I said, thankfully in 5 years in DL with 82 buildings and 43 on Moberg, there's 3 left. We have not had one complaint from anybody that I know of, law, neighbor, anybody. I want to protect the lake. We don't want to use the lake. It's a beautiful look. There's 2 swans out there. We're just going to look at it and work with everybody the best we can. I'm sorry I couldn't exactly answer that, but that's what it could be. 30 feet, 32. Whenever he calls me back, I can let you know.
But we're talking the peak. We're not
The
talking
peak.
a second level or anything.
That's
like
right.
that.
No, there'll probably be a second level just because there has to be for the wash bay. So it's just usable space. The wash bay, all the doors are 14 feet high. And so you got to have room for your garage door. So that's going to be 16, 17, whatever. It just hasn't been done yet. All these boats and RVs with air conditioners, you got to get in a 14-foot door, you'll hit the garage door. So we just haven't made anything any shorter.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
That's all.
Okay. I know this isn't a public hearing, but I'm going to ask if there's anyone in the audience who wants to speak. Seeing no one, let's go on.
Madam Chair, I believe we're still in the public hearing, so Madam Chair, I would so move that we close the,
We're not.
No.
we're not?
No,
Just
This
item
wasn't a public
8-1
hearing.
and 8-2. Relax
Oh,
into
okay.
this.
I thought we were in a public hearing, so,
We're over
very good.
those.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I would make the motion to approve the preliminary plat for Hartley Lake Storage.
We have a motion for 8-1.
Madam Chair, I'll second 8-1.
Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we're on 8-2. Does anyone want to make the motion for the final plat?
I would move to the county board approve the final plat for the Hartley Lake Storage.
Madam Chair, I would second that with the alteration that's going to be made through the planning and zoning. If I understood correctly, is that?
Yeah, Madam Chair, yeah, Commissioner Barrows, that the requirement that the CUP would have to be amended for the increase in size to the clubhouse, correct, with the conditions of no dock and no boat landing.
Yes.
So is that okay, Commissioner Coring?
Yes.
Okay.
And until we got that agreement that there would be no dock or boat landing, I was going to vote no on this whole thing, but since Mr. Anderson has agreed, I will vote yes. Is there any more discussion? Okay, I've got a motion by Commissioner Coring, second by Commissioner Barrows. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, well, thank you very much for that. We have two more, we have another plat to look at, but just want to point out on the agenda, we have 8.3, 4, 5, and 6. I'd like to take the preliminary plat of Grant Woods Edition and the final plat in succession. I think they just got a little bit out of alignment on the agenda, if that's okay with the chair.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So the next item on the agenda is another plat. This is the preliminary plat of Grant Woods Edition, and this is a little different. This is a residential lot with a total of 2 lots to be considered. This is located in Section 35 of Jenkins Township. Its access is off of North Oak Drive. It's on the west side of Upper Hay Lake, which is a general development lake. If we can click on the plat itself, under preliminary plat.
So we are right here.
We are at the, Grant preliminary plat, yep.
I didn't catch what you said, you were switching around.
Yeah, no, apologies for that.
So you want a map?
Yeah, there should be a,
Oh, this?
can we zoom that out at all? There we go. So you can see here, this is North Oak Drive over here to the west. These are the 2 lots that we're looking at. This is Upper Hay Lake here. You can see from the vicinity map where it's located on that west side. Everything here meets as far as lot width and lot area. This meets all the ordinance requirements. There's no road to be needed because it'll come right off of North Oak Drive. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the preliminary plat on August 17th, 2023, at their meeting based on the finding of fact that's in the current board packet today. Staff have also reviewed the plat and determined it meets all the requirements of the ordinance and also recommends approval. So we'll be looking at a motion on this to approve the preliminary plat, and there's a second motion to approve the final plat.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion to approve the preliminary plat.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Lubke, second by Commissioner Coring. Any discussion?
I see what we did.
Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
And we just need a motion for the final plat.
Madam Chair, I'll make that motion to approve the final plat for Grant Woods Edition.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Lubke, second by Commissioner Barrows for the final plat for Grant Woods Edition. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you for that. We have one more plat for your consideration. This is the plat of Lewick Acres, which is a total of 4 lots, which has 3 individual lots for the plat and 1 outlot for the road. This is located in Section 33 of Deerwood Township. This actually comes off of State Highway 6. There's the map. And the lake, it's on Lake Placid, which is a recreational development lake. You can see, if we just scroll down a little bit, there we go. So here's, this is 6 over here. This is Outlot A, where the road is coming in to get access to these 3 lots. All these lots exceed ordinance requirements by quite a bit as far as lot area and lot width. And so this lot, this actual plat exceeds the requirements of our county ordinance. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of this preliminary plat at their August 17th, 2023 meeting. That's based on the finding of fact that's in the board packet today. Staff have also reviewed the plat and determined it meets ordinance requirements and recommends approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Do we have a motion for the preliminary plat?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hoag, second by Commissioner Barrows. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now final plat. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Motion by Commissioner Hoag, second by Commissioner Lupke. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay, Amy.
Raise up this time. Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I'm here today regarding a labor settlement with one of our essential units. It's with LELS Local 13, and they represent our 9 dispatchers that we have. As part of the settlement, they will be 100% application of the performance-based pay matrix with a range increase of the matrix in 23 of 2.5%, and in 24 moving to 90% of the metro, and then another 2.5% and 2.5% as well in 2025. All of the individuals are on the county insurance plan as well. Some of the key recognitions for the agreement is Juneteenth and Christmas Eve as paid holidays, some increase with their healthcare savings plan contributions, a slight increase in their shift differential as well, and an MOU regarding the recruitment and retention. This is another one of the areas where we need to make sure we can retain our 911 dispatchers. We want to make sure when people call in that there is somebody there to answer the phone. So we really need to be able to retain them and recruit as well for that. And it is a 3-year contract for the years of 23, 24, and 25, and then just some general contract language cleanup throughout as well. In addition to the performance-based pay application, there's also in 23, 24, and 25 a 2% movement within the range as well. And if there are any questions?
How many members do we have in this unit?
9.
9 members. Thank you.
Yeah. So if there's no questions, I'm here today to, looking for a motion to authorize entering into a labor agreement between Crow Wing County and Law Enforcement Labor Services Local 13 Dispatch, effective January 1, 2023 through December 31, 2025. And the Chair, Human Resource Manager, and County Administrator are authorized to sign said agreement and to authorize extending all relevant provisions to similarly situated non-union employees, and further to extend bargaining patterns to other bargaining units.
Any questions for Amy?
Madam Chair, no question, just for the public to know that, we're not just sitting here not asking any questions. Actually, the county board has already seen this at Personnel Committee meeting, and we've vetted it thoroughly. So by the time it got here, I think, believe it or not, I don't even have any questions. So I know that's hard to believe.
Mark that down.
So Madam Chair, so I would move, what's the appropriate motion on this one?
Amy just read it to you.
She just
so
read
if
it,
you would,
yeah.
Okay.
Move what Amy just read.
I would
that's what's
move
gonna
what
show up
Amy
in the
just
minutes.
said.
I'll second
I
that.
don't have it in front
It
of
is
me.
to approve the labor agreement, extend the provision for non-union employees, and to have this be the pattern settlement for other bargaining.
So move.
Great. We have a motion by Commissioner Coring, second by Commissioner Barrows. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Okay, Sheriff, you're next up.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners, Dr. Hool.
You are
Pleasure to
always
be here in front of you.
in a good mood.
Oh,
We're
boy.
doing pretty good until that.
I like that Eric is always in a good mood.
I am in a good mood. We got a lot of great employees, not just at the sheriff's office, but obviously countywide, and I sure appreciate being able to partner with you guys and work alongside them because they are good people and they're funny. So I appreciate that. We have not a whole lot to share with you today. We're looking really good with our hiring practices and the way we're providing these recruitment and retention ideas. We're always looking outside the box, trying to bring people in. We're probably like we're 3 short in dispatch. However, we're hired, but we're just there's an FTO process, and it takes time for them to get trained up. So when I say we're full staff, I mean it's our folks don't like me to use that word or say that because they don't really count until they get let go or on their own. Over in the jail, we're looking really good there. Our turnover rate has gone down considerably. I'm very pleased with that. Our hiring stuff looks a lot better than it did when I first came here. So we probably have 6 people in FTO process over at the jail, and hopefully they'll be ready to roll by December, maybe. Something like that. So I'm looking forward to that because it'll be nice to have a full complement of employees that are able to work on their own. Let's see. We're also working on a lot of other little projects. I can't really say little because everything is complicated when you're dealing with law enforcement. We're in a complex area. And one of the things we're working on is the RMS, our records management system. It's a joint records management system throughout the county, so with the other police agencies as well, so that we're all sharing information from one sheet of music, if you will, and everybody puts into that same, so everybody has access to it. And it's all real-time stuff. So we've vetted out a few of RMSs, probably 6 of them. We got one more left for the 6th one, I think. And that's Labs 365. So hopefully we'll be able to identify new records management systems so that we can get rid of the one that we currently are using, which is about 17 years old. I started that one when I was sheriff the first time, and typical lifespan on a software is about 7-8 years. So we've gotten a lot of miles out of that one. But we're looking forward to the new one as well. So, Andy, anything else I should share at all, or any other excitement? Getting ready? Always excited, but nothing we share. Yeah, we got complicated stuff to share. So, all right, that's all I have for you. I'd certainly entertain any questions, and literally entertain any questions.
Paul, of course.
Paul might have a question.
Madam Chair, it's not really, well, I guess I might have a question at the end of this, but I don't like, I think it's important to pass out compliments, but I don't do a love fest very much. But I will say, it has been an honor to be able to work with you, and Andy certainly was the right choice for Chief Deputy. You guys are, when we do say no or we kind of push back, you don't get all mad. You just say, hey, how can we work together? And so I for one on this board appreciates what you guys are doing and working with you. And and I will say I'm amazed that with the employment, I call it a crisis because you can't find any employees. And if you remember just watching the news, the the prisoners that kind of revolted down at Stillwater, and I was amazed when I saw the Commissioner of Corrections talking about what's going on and the problems that he's having. There are over 300 correctional officers short. This is nationwide.
Yep.
I just talked to somebody from the state of Missouri. It's the same thing there. I don't know where all the workers have gone, but it's so I'll tell you what, it's a testament to you and your department and Andy that you're getting the people in there that we need to run the jail and to respond to calls, and so I think you need a lot of kudos for that. And then just one other thing, for some reason I've been watching these shows on Netflix. It's Cold Case Files. And this is a serious deal. I remember the first time I started doing the medical examiner calls, the first case I had was a lady that worked at the convenience store in Pine River, and she was up there.
Rachel Anthony.
Do you guys still work on these cold case files? And, you know, I mean, because I don't think that was never resolved, was it? I don't know if I should be asking that or.
No, that's fine. We are getting, we continue to get leads on that case, and we vet out every one of those things. I would say that we probably get 1 or 2 a year still, that somebody will call up and share information, and we'll track that down and vet it out.
Okay. Because I see that this whole DNA thing is amazing, that they can find these people that just watched one last night, somebody that was raped and killed somebody 40 years later, they tracked them down.
Yeah, we're confident that we'll be able to solve that case at some point here.
Good.
So
Good. That's all I've got, Madam Chair.
All right. Does
all right,
anyone else
thank
have
you
any
very much. I
questions?
appreciate it.
Thank you. Is the county attorney online?
Yes, he is.
Don, do you have anything to report?
Nothing today, but I certainly can answer any questions anybody has.
Anyone?
I
Paul?
guess the only question I have is, are all those boxes there intentionally just to make it look like you're busy, or?
You can come on over and check them out anytime you want.
No, Don,
instead of piling stuff out in the hall, I just pile it up in the corners of my office.
Don does a great job too. Lots of bad cases lately to have to work on. So appreciate you, Don.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Have a good day, everyone.
You too.
You too.
Tim, you can go back to your report.
Madam Chair, members, I gave you the senior management team report. That is all I have for you today. I'm happy to answer any questions related to that or anything else related to county government.
No additional business?
Madam Chair, Mr. Corey?
Go ahead.
first.
You want to go first?
We'll go
I'll defer to you
alphabetically.
first, and then,
Okay.
because I got a list.
Okay.
So-
Well, I guess just my question is I like to, I think we all like to hear an update from the county engineer on, because Ojibwe and Nashway has been one heck of a huge project. I actually just drove on Ojibwe the other day, and wow. And I think it's only the first lift on there. And so the question I have is, how's the project going? And then, not telling you that I'm the expert, and I'm just wondering if you put the first lift on and then wait until the next year to put the second lift on, is that what's going to happen or not? No. Okay. Just kind of an update, I guess. I'd like to hear an update.
Sure. Thank you for asking. Madam Chair and Commissioner Coring, the County Road 115 project is going very well. Our contractor's doing a fantastic job of working in small chunks, and the residents really certainly have enjoyed that. The first lift of pavement is on most of it. He is, Borden Excavating is the prime contractor. He's planning to go up about a mile farther than we thought he was going to this year, so we're ahead of schedule. So if you recall, this is a 2-year project, and so he's going to get up to near Windy Ridge, which is a little bit farther than we thought. So he's going to continue on up there. There's still some curb and gutter to go in this year, and I have stated ever since I've been in this job that we're not going to pave in October because of the cold temperature. So he's on track to get the final lift of paving, the extra part up to Windy Ridge, and then the final lift of pavement this year. In this particular case, it's not a good idea to let it, and there's no reason to let it sit over the winter.
Okay.
So up to Windy Ridge, we'll have both lifts of pavement done this year. So I'm happy to report that, and we're ahead of schedule, and he's done a great job of moving it along, very accommodating to the residents there. And we've heard nothing but very positive comments from the way the project has gone, his treatment and his accommodation of the residents there. Very happy about that. Very appreciative of his partnership with us.
Awesome.
I also think the notification system that you've used for people in that area probably has helped to avoid phone calls for people, where's my mail going to be? When is this going to, be disrupted? I know that this is probably the most difficult project we've ever undertaken. It certainly is the most expensive project we've ever undertaken. It is sandwiched between two lakes, and so the real estate is really expensive. And so just that I have one call, one email on this project so far. And I think that is a testimony to the way in which the Highway Department has handled it, their use of outreach efforts on this project that are specific and unique. And the contractor is doing a wonderful job for us. So it's turning out to be a very good project when it should have been more difficult.
I had a resident, and apparently this happens to, I'm not out there every day, of course, and our staff's doing a fantastic job of working right alongside our contractor. But I was out there visiting with one of our inspectors, and a person behind the brand-new curb and gutter needed to get out to go to a couple appointments. So the contractor came running to create an opportunity for them to get over the curb. And while that was happening, she confided in me that she was adamantly against the project, and now she's coming around. And for me, that didn't happen directly to me very often, but apparently the workers and my staff that is out there hears that quite often. It is not as invasive as they thought, and they're starting to welcome the improvements like we kind of thought would happen. So. Exactly. This is a bit challenging project. We've been working on it over the course of 10 years or so, and so it's great to see it progressing as far as it has this year.
Yes, and I have to thank you for the job you're doing, because in the 10 previous years, I've received, I don't even know how many complaints, is what I'm going to call them. A lot of phone calls, but a lot of people just absolutely were against this. Mm-hmm. And I have not had one call since this project has actually started, so I'd say that's almost a miracle.
I mean, there are people that there are still people that hold some challenges, but they're still not 100% behind it. But we're hearing a lot more stories of those that have embraced the project. One thing, one of the complaints or one of the concerns has always been is that the speeds will go up, and we as humans like smooth pavement, and we feel comfortable going faster with smooth pavement. And one of the things we're also going to make sure that this year, because we're going to get that second lift of pavement on it, it's going to be smooth like glass, is we're going to get those dynamic signs that we promised with the project up this year. We're working hard to get those flashing, and that we're hoping to combat that natural tendency for us to go faster on smooth pavement, to get those things up to help with that this year.
Madam Chair, I just want to report too that last night I went to the Green Lantern and had barbecued ribs, and they were delicious, by the way. So if you ever want to go there,
I saw it on Facebook.
Yeah, and I brought some friends of mine from the state of Missouri that were riding with me, and their comment on the way over there said, "Boy, you sure got smooth roads." And I said, "Thank you." So
you were out there.
It's noticeable. Anyway, that's all I've got.
Madam Chair, I have a couple things. First of all, September is Disaster Preparedness Month, and I'm sure the Sheriff's Department and the whole organization is taking a look at that. The second one is this is National Addiction Recovery Month, and I know that our county budget and that is impacted by that, so just want to recognize the people that are working through those struggles. And then the third one is probably the most depressing one, but it's National Suicide Month. And I think that we need to recognize that mental health is a big issue in our county and in our country, in fact. So just want to bring that out so that people are aware that this is the month to really pay attention to it, but there's 11 other months where it's also important. So with that, I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Well, let's just wait. Paul must be looking for what today is.
Well, I was gonna be a smarty and look up something funny, but I think I'll just go ahead and second that motion to adjourn.
We have a motion by Commissioner Barrows, second by Commissioner Coring. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.